Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV and welcome back to another episode of the Friday Night Social. It's the 1st of May and we've got 4 more guests on with me tonight. We've got Chris, as usual. How you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks, mate. Yeah.
Brilliant. We've got Ryan.
Hi, I'm back.
He is back, yeah. He's out of isolation, he's back. We've got Karl again. How are you doing, mate?
Hello. Great to be here again with you guys Friday night.
Excellent, superb, and obviously haircut boy there, haircut 100. We've got Martin. How are you, mate?
I'm fine.
Brilliant. Okay, he's fine. So great. We've got a couple of questions on tonight's Friday Night Social, and we're going to go into football and things like that and everything that's been released from today. And we'll may have to put this out in a couple of parts, but it's not going to be a 4-parter like last week. So, but first off, what I wanted to ask each and every one of you is, one, how are you doing? It's another week in lockdown. And my second part to it is loads of people, obviously, if you're on social media, are talking about Netflix series and films that you're catching up on, or TV programs that you've not seen in a while, and that type of thing. I just wanted to know your thoughts. What is it? Now, it might be gaming, it might be whatever, but what is it that on TV or something that's keeping you occupied, other than the general sort of things that we do in our daily lives whilst on lockdown? So I'm going to come to you first, Chris. How are you, mate? First week, we're getting into of May. Which is sort of our fifth, nearly 6th week of lockdown. How are you, mate?
Well, I went back to work on Monday. On Tuesday, we were sent home. So basically, a decision was made at work that if you were living with somebody who had to self-isolate because you've had a letter which came on the Tuesday, then you had to go home and self-isolate with them. So I'm on a lockdown now with the rest of you. And I have to say, yesterday I was quite grumpy, which is not like me at all. Things were getting on my nerves quite a lot yesterday, but I seem to have woken up in a better mood this morning. In terms of, I haven't really watched anything additional on telly. I can't wait for Sunday's finale to Homeland. That's something, I'm glad I've survived to see the end of that. I've been listening to a lot of Bob Mortimer stuff, Atletico Mints mainly, of podcasts. Just love Bob Mortimer, brilliant podcast. And listening to lots of music that I hope that, I can continue to listen to for years to come. So sort of bands and albums that I consider really important to me. And, that's what I've been doing, really.
So you got time to catch up on all that type of stuff, which is great, because you originally came back off. You had 2 weeks off, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you were on the Friday Night Socials, 2 weeks off. You were originally back to work. How long are you going to be off for now?
Well, the letter said to be off for 12 weeks from the date.
Hence the Hawaiian
shirt.
You're on holiday.
That's it, mate. Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure. The workers said that they might send me a laptop to work remotely, which I'm more than happy to do. But there's a lot of people in that situation, and I don't know if there's that much hardware, so we'll see.
Okay, well, we've got 12 weeks of Chris on the Friday Night Social, which is fantastic. If lockdown continues for that amount of time, Ryan, how are you? You missed last week, but last time we spoke to you, I think it was a big WWE night or something like that, or whatever. But
last time was WrestleMania. Last time.
So how's lockdown going for you, apart from crawling out of your bed?
This is fine for me. I'm happy to do this for another couple of months.
Couple of years.
I don't leave. Well, that's fine by me as well. I'm assuming you threw in the gaming bit there for the young'uns like me and Martin.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you occupying your days? Is it Netflix? Is it gaming? Is it whatever?
Mostly gaming. I've watched a couple films on Netflix and a couple programs, and then I think I've got something new coming out at the start of the month, at some point. So I'll be watching that in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah. And then other than that, it's mostly listening to podcasts, playing FIFA. Team of the Season's just come out, so I'm kind of grinding that at the moment. And then me and Kate and Connor have been building a giant village on Minecraft, so I've been doing that.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm not really doing much. Just listening to music, podcasts.
It is for me. I mean, I don't know Minecraft. I mean, what's that? I don't know. But I have heard of it. I promise. Martin, what about yourself, mate?
Working. I'm working from home still, setting assignments, doing professional development, conference calls, that sort of thing. Working on Man City Man TV as normal. But yeah, Netflix. I did start something called Lock and Key.
Oh yeah, what was that like?
It was a bit. It's meant to be a bit of a horror stroke summit, but it's more like for kids than it is for adults. Wasn't really scary at all, or very.
I thought you were a kid.
Sounds up your street there, Mark.
I thought you were a kid.
Yeah, well.
You're down with the kids.
So you know what I did? I went back to my Star Trek.
Oh.
Started watching my Star Trek episodes.
Back to default level.
Pardon?
Klingon.
What?
Back to default level. Back to your Star Trek.
Yeah. Really, and that's it. And I'm watching it mainly at night because even like in the day, it's hard for me because I'm still technically working. So I can't be sat watching Netflix all day. I've got Disney Plus. My lad is over the moon. I've got Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So am I, because now I'm going to get all the new Marvel series that are going to come out, which are going to be amazing. That I can't wait for.
He's trying to say he got Disney Plus for his kid, didn't he? He didn't. He got it for him. I have, yeah.
You know what my lad's like with Disney and Marvel and everything else.
I do. Brilliant. Well, Karl, what about yourself? How are you doing, mate, since last week? Anything changed? I mean, I hope really this time we've seen you have a couple of glasses of port and things. I hope it's not Dettol.
No. No. I
having a bath in it.
Goodness me! But I tell you what. So I got my designer mask.
Hey.
Oh, he's got his PPE.
Snazzy.
Right, but so this week, apart from work, I have actually I have a U12 team that I coach, the football team that I coach, and so I'll be using Zoom sessions to walk through some strategies and some plays.
Are you talking football or soccer?
Football. Yeah, I mean,
American football.
Soccer.
Soccer. Okay.
So I've used a lot of clips from Man City and Barcelona. I try to teach them, at least while we're at home right now, just watch how they build up from the back, watch how they clear the ball, decision making, and I'm doing my badges right now with the USSF. So I have a U12 team. They're quite good. They score a lot of goals, but they concede a lot. But
like Kevin Keegan.
It's all about the beautiful game.
It's all about you. That's what I've been doing this week. Really, it's just Zoom sessions. I got my mask, and then just work. Oh, I'm watching Netflix. So I'm watching this series, The Last Kingdom. Don't know if you heard about it.
No, I mean, I don't. Is it a series? I mean, I remember. Was there not a film called The Last Kingdom?
Series
about First Kingdom or something.
About how England was formed with the Danes and the Saxons. It talks about Wessex and East Anglia and Northumbria. So it really is interesting to see the overall. It's set in 800 AD, about that time, and it's really interesting. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I like Gothic stuff, so I'm always going back to the history of England, trying to understand England a bit more. So yeah.
I've seen that. It's a crock of shit.
You know what?
Well then,
You're not a fan, Chris?
That's just a part of history I know a hell of a lot about, and it's to say that they've taken artistic license with that program is
what I enjoy is because it's kind of fun. It's not too heavy, but it's kind of funny. It's quirky. You know,
I must admit, I haven't seen it. I mean, it's been same old, hasn't it? You know, it's churning out videos and speaking to people and whatever else that we're doing at the moment. I'm with you, Chris. Homeland. Can't wait for Sunday. It's been a cracking series. This one. I did watch Afterlife 2. And I did that. Me and my wife did that in sort of 2 nights, the full lot. Absolutely brilliant. Loved it on there. And started watching something else. It was a book my wife read, and I can't remember the name of it now. Forever People or something like that. Or or whatever it is. But that was really, really good. So I think she's in the other room watching some more episodes, so I'll have to catch up. So anyway, I mean, everyone's got to do what they've got to do, and each their own. Right, tonight then, moving on to sort of football news, and today's been a big, well, let's say, big breaking news from for Friday, because I'm sure next Friday we're going to get more news. And as everyone will be aware by the time you watch this video, then this morning, there was a meeting of all 20 shareholders in the Premier League. Well, they met today. The meeting lasted for 3.5 hours. And basically, some of the key points that came out of it was that clubs, and this is allegedly, we've had no quotes here, we're just having allegedly from the media, was that clubs determined to finish the season. However, yesterday's breaking news was the PM of the UK, Boris Johnson, said national lockdown will only be eased in stages and not before next Thursday, and that's the 7th of May. And bearing in mind that the Premier League will resume for another meeting on the next Friday, the 8th of May. The other statement was clubs are hopeful of resuming training on the 18th of May. Okay, so we're 17 days away from that, with the Premier League to start on June the 12th. So just under 6 weeks away. They've also stated that there will be up to 12 neutral venues, and teams will not be allowed to play their games at their home ground if you are one of those 12 neutral grounds. They've already said that the 3 clubs that are definitely going to host this, they claim, are Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium, West Ham and Arsenal have been chosen definitely because of the lesser population of houses surrounding those particular stadia. Clubs will meet again with the FA and the Premier League next Friday, after Boris Johnson will, in the UK, announce something next Thursday if he decides to do so. However, a couple of other things that came to light to me tonight with a bit of research I was doing on the back of everything that had been said, because obviously I think everybody has been reading articles and things like that with regards to the statement from today's meeting. One thing I do want to go through and just very quickly tell you is that, as you know, that Germany, Angela Merkel, relaxed the lockdown 5-6 days ago. Since then, we know that they've had another spike in coronavirus testing, and also deaths have also increased as well significantly. Within that, she is now looking at potential reviewing the lockdown status of Germany. Now, as we know, Germany were potentially going to be the first team that were going to have started training together, and were going to play football matches behind closed doors. But one other thing of what the article, other than the sort of German football stuff, was the World Health Organization has warned nations must prepare for a second and third wave, potentially more deadlier than the first. Dr. Hans Kluge, the head of the WHO in Europe, said COVID-19 is not going away anytime soon. One of the things we saw very clearly in different countries is the speed with which even the best healthcare systems can be overwhelmed and devastated. So the biggest lesson overall at this stage would be that health really deserves to be at the top of the political agenda. Health, though, is a driver of the economy. All right, so there is a bit of a crossover with regards to that. The other piece of news that broke tonight was that, reported in Reuters, that German top flight soccer team FC Cologne said on Friday today that group training was continuing despite 3 of their players testing positive for COVID-19. In a statement, the Bundesliga side said the entire squad and coaching staff had been tested on Thursday. 3 people tested positive. All are symptom-free the club statement said, after an assessment of the cases by the responsible health authorities, the 3 people who tested positive will go into a 14-day quarantine at home. Cologne said they would not confirm any names out of respect for the privacy of those individuals involved. So what we've got now is we've got this main things that are coming out today. Not everybody, allegedly, because we've not had any quotes from the Premier League and the FA. So clubs, they're claiming. Just hold on 1 second, Martin. Clubs, to recap, clubs are determined to finish the Premier League, allegedly. We know that Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, has said there will be absolutely no opening of schools and everything until June, but there is a meeting next Thursday with the government to see whether there's going to be some relaxation on rules, but what they are, and there might not be any. They might decide next Thursday, no, there isn't. We know clubs are hopeful of resuming training on the 18th of June with a view to start the Premier League season on the 18th of May, with the Premier League season to start on the 12th of June. 12 neutral venues, 3 already allegedly Man City, West Ham and Arsenal. No Premier League team will be allowed to play at their home stadium if you are one of those neutral venues. Clubs will meet again on Friday next week after Prime Minister has made his decision in the UK next Thursday. And we know now Germany, who went into lockdown first, have done exceptionally well and never released people to a certain degree from lockdown. Now we're seeing another spike again with regards to it. And Angela Merkel says she's going to review the lockdown procedures. And we now know today that Cologne have got 3 players that have tested positive for coronavirus and have been sent into isolation for 14 days. So that's where we're at with regards to today's big announcement and the latest news that's just broke in the last few hours. So, Martin, you wanted to jump in there, so go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. I'm just asking, just want to double check. Did you say Cologne have had 3 tested positive,
yes,
but they're still staying in groups to train?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So doesn't that defeat the whole object of that then?
Well, this is the statement. The statement said.
I wasn't sure if
no. The statement said 3 people tested positive, all are symptom free. So they are positive but symptom free. Yeah. And it says after an assessment of the cases by the responsible health authorities, the 3 people who tested positive will go into a 14-day quarantine. And it says the entire squad and coaching staff were tested yesterday, Thursday, okay, but that the group training was continuing despite 3 people at the club testing positive for COVID-19.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So my first question for tonight is, and we'll do this very briefly. We're not going to talk, for hours on this, but what are your initial thoughts on those key points that have come out today? Because it is quite breaking considering yesterday, and we've heard from Sergio Aguero saying that players were scared. We've heard from Glenn Murray, who said this should not happen and no way should people's lives be put at risk. We're going to come to the fact of how safe is it. I just want your initial thoughts on those key points I've just read out so everybody understands what we're talking about. So, Chris, I'm going to come to you first, mate.
I think this isn't the first time I've said this, but it's unsurprising what's come out. It just seems like the show must go on and that they're completely oblivious to what's going on around them, or they just don't care. And I think it's that. I think it's all to do with money. Like you say there, in Germany, they've had far fewer deaths than we have. I think they've had less than 7,000 deaths. Yeah. Much more, I think they've got at least 20 more people living in Germany as well. So they have had a much better handle on it. They've tested, and now we've got this happen at Cologne. And I don't know, it just seems to go against what the Germans have been doing up till now. I saw in a week that Macron had apparently been trying to get the other big leagues to cancel their seasons as well. Yeah. I wonder whether that pressure will come to bear at the end. I think the UK figures are astounding when you look at our death rate, when we have a population of the world is less than 1% of the world. and we have over 10% of the registered deaths. And the FT yesterday were reporting that they were probably closer to 40,000.
And more.
Yeah,
40, I think 47,000 I read something last night.
It's an absolute scandal, and for it to be considering to be playing football again, it's just mind blowing, mate. I'm absolutely gutted that I live in a country that doesn't care about its population. Yeah. What can I say?
Karl, come to you next, mate.
I have a different view, Andy, on this whole show. I think they're just kicking the can down the road. I think they know they're not going to play the season out. They're waiting to learn from Germany, and they're just kicking the can down the road. They can't make a decision right now. So all the clubs are saying, okay, we'll agree to play. Let's see what happens. Yeah. It's inevitable, Andy. There is no way you're going to get all these players to come and play football on the field with risk to their families. So player take Kevin De Bruyne, for example. Okay, wife's pregnant, right? We all know that. Lovely player, beautiful wife. They're going to have to be a baby girl. You want him to come and play for, 10 games with 22 players every single game and then go back home to his wife who's pregnant?
Well, I mean, the thing is with that, is you make a good point, is with Kevin De Bruyne and his wife, is the fact that he won't naturally do that, because what they're going to do is take these players away from their families and put them in isolation. So because you can't, because clearly he cannot possibly leave his home under the current guidelines, go and train and play a game and go back to his family. I mean, it's impossible, because that's against rules and regulations, allegedly.
Sorry, can I just put in there and just say, this is a conversation I had with my wife. If she was to get ill, right, I become my lad's primary carer. Yeah. So if Kevin De Bruyne's wife gets ill, he becomes his other kids. I know he's got at least one other kid, and he will be the main carer for that child. Yeah. So he would have to go home. I don't think this putting them all in isolated hotel or whatever. It's bonkers. Absolutely bonkers.
It is.
Andy, but there is a bigger question here. So if this is all about money, right? We assume it's all about money. Tell me one organization in the world that's not losing money right now in COVID-19. Why is the Premier League any different?
Yeah, you don't have to. It's a point which that is what we'll come to maybe in question 3. I mean, it's something I've argued for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's been my biggest argument over this whole thing. But when we talk about business and losing money, we'll come to that on question 3. Yeah, because I think it's a valid and absolutely. It gets to the core of everything for me personally. It's my biggest argument about the whole thing if it's not about saving lives. So I think the Kevin De Bruyne thing is a prime question to ask of any human being who cares about life and cares about loved ones. It's amazing. Ryan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw it coming with the announcement, but I think it is kind of more just like, oh, we'll say it's going to continue. We'll say we're going to finish the season to kind of like keep morale up or whatever, give people hope. But then obviously you had, I think it might have been a week or so ago, when I think it was someone in the government, like around a week after saying that all the footballers should be taking pay cuts, they were then saying that they should come back and start playing football to boost the morale of the country.
Oliver Dowd.
And then,
yeah, that's a good point.
When this was like going around on Twitter, and I was like arguing with people, mainly Liverpool fans, they were saying that they don't mean it that we'd do it yet, like not do it right now. But then I'm like, well, what do you mean by that then? Because they're saying bring it back and it can boost the morale of the country, but if it's not now and it's when everything's starting to get better, then the country's morale's surely going to be getting better anyway, and you don't need to then go and put other people at risk. Yeah. But I'm glad you brought up the FC Köln point, because obviously I watch a lot of German football and I've watched pretty much every Köln game this season. So I saw the announcement earlier on Twitter. I don't think it's 3 players specifically. It's just from the backroom staff and the team and everything.
Well, they're not telling us at the moment.
They're not saying who it is specifically.
Well, they're not specifically saying the players. They're saying it's staff.
It's just like anyone from the staff to the backroom team and the coaching staff, stuff like that. But But obviously, Germany was planning first to be coming back, and they had this date set, and I think it got pushed back a week.
Yeah.
I think it was the date when Angela Merkel was going to speak about it was pushed back a week, and I think at some point this week or next week, when she's going to talk about football coming back in Germany. But obviously they've started training. Zach Stefan got his injury, which will probably be to do with like the prolonged time off. And then I think all of Italy's teams have voted that they don't want to void the season, and they've had, I think they've set a date for when they want to come back to training. So I think it's all just a bit optimistic.
You reckon? You reckon it's just purely just like Karl said, it's kicking the can down the road and it's just stringing it along until a government's go.
Yeah, I think that's
or something major happens.
I think that's what it is, especially with the Premier League rather than Italy and Germany. But obviously, I don't know what's happening in Spain, really. I think they're kind of easing off a little bit in Spain. And then France have also cancelled, or at least in the football terms of things, in Spain.
Yeah. I mean, if you read just on that before I come back to you, Karl, before I go to Martin, you talk about Italy. Well, there's been reports tonight that 4 different regions have opened bars and restaurants, which has gone completely against government guidelines, and the Prime Minister has absolutely kicked off over it and saying, "What the hell are you doing? We've given you no permission to open," and they've gone straight against government guidelines in Italy and opened up bars and restaurants. Now, you know what's coming next? If we've seen the template for Germany, where they've tried to relax it in a formal, structured way, and suddenly COVID-19 rates go spike again, what the hell is going to happen again in Italy? After they were the ones that really suffered in all of this, even though now it's the UK that are suffering. Italy
especially
were the ones
with Italy,
devastated.
Especially with Italy in the footballing terms, because I think Paulo Dybala, he's one of the top stars at the top club in that country, and they're still talking about putting football on.
Yeah.
He's been suffering from it for weeks, if not, I think, a month at least. And he's one of the top stars at the top club.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, Karl?
I mean, I do want to, Ryan pointed out something I want to latch onto very quickly. He talked about, I think it was about the government, and I think what's happening is that the clubs do not want to cancel the season yet. They're waiting for the government to overrule it because there may be a legal issue. So if the government says no games, no football, no outings, force majeure, it's not your fault, it's the government's fault. If you claim to overrule it and say no games, you could be sued. So I think there is a play going on here between the clubs saying, look, if we do have to cancel, we don't want to be the ones who have to get all lawsuits. Let's point to the government as the force majeure that's creating the issue around resuming the game.
But isn't the whole situation
even with France
force majeure situation?
Yeah, you know, even with France, because they've done that in France, and Lyon they're already talking about suing. But I don't know if that's because even if the government say you can't do it, there's like the football associations for all these countries, they're still going to have a decision to make on how it ends up. France have decided to give the PSG, keep the current standings. And I think from maybe around 4th to around 13th is split by like 4 points. So literally all of those teams there, with all those games left, all in with great shouts of like top European football, Europa League football. So all of them, like you've already seen it with Lyon, what they're apparently planning on doing in suing. So it's still the leagues are still going to have to make a decision at the end of the day how it ends up, whether you're null and voiding it, cancelling the season, or current standings or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, Martin?
I agree with nearly everyone because I think they've all raised good points. I agree with Karl. I think it is to do with the insurance job. I think if the government close it down, I think clubs can then do things with insurances, I presume, and things like that. It's like cinemas and bars. They had to be told to be closed before they could start claiming losses and everything else that they're doing. So I think that's part of an issue. I said in the vlog earlier I was going to mention something Martin Samuel talked about on the Sunday supplement last week, which was absolutely spot on. The Premier League relaxed the rules, if you notice. It's now going up to, can't remember whether it was 25 or 29 man squads now. They're going to relax it. So where you put your squad in at the start.
Yeah.
They're going to basically say, it comes to conclusion, like Martin Samuel says, in the end, you're going to end up with unfair games if this goes ahead to start off with. Because if, like someone said today, KDB, who would be absolutely within his right, and Aguero says, I don't want to play. Sorry.
Or any player.
Someone else, especially like someone like David Silva, who we all know about his little boy and the issues he's been through, he might say, no, I ain't doing this. Yeah. So then City have to roll out, and then they go to the academy kids. No, they don't want to play. So we might end up, I know this is a slight exaggeration here, but you might end up with a tea lady up front or the cleaner down the left wing, and you're going up against a full-strength Liverpool. I'm not being funny, but it becomes a farce then.
Surely Leroy Sané is fit, Martin.
But
well,
Martin,
probably, yeah. It shouldn't even be going ahead. We shouldn't even be talking about this right now. As you said with Germany, I mean, like Brian said about Italy, the thing with Italy is the FA want to get them going in Italy. The government are stopping them. It's the government in Italy saying, you are not opening your training ground. You ain't going back. So at least the Italian government have got a little bit of sense up here. I don't. It's like Gary Neville said this week. Is it going to take a death before we realise what we're doing? Before we are really.
You only
on stupidity.
I mean, if you listen to, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, don't listen to Talk Sport, don't tune in, blah blah blah." But I mean, I like to listen to people's opinions, whether I agree with them or I don't agree with them. I'll make my own mind up. Thank you very much on what I listen to and what I don't listen to. But Simon Jordan made a good point earlier on in the week, and he said, will it, if somebody was to contract it and they die, or their family contracts it from them and they die, are we going to be looking at corporate manslaughter suits to the government and to the FA and to everything else?
Well, have we come out of that?
No, we haven't. No.
So, well, I'll tell you what. I've never seen the roads as busy as they have been today for weeks.
Yeah.
People are losing their heads now, and they get stupid.
And to Martin's point, so let's take the example of Pep Guardiola. Okay, his mother unfortunately died of coronavirus. Do you really think he's going to come back and play 9 games in the midst of all this, where he can be exposed again, and his father's old, right? Yeah. Think about how close he was to playing the game with against Arsenal, and Arteta had it. They would have shook hands. They would have embraced. So, what is the Premier League thinking here? I mean,
this is what I think. I think I'd be surprised if 99% of the population who are football fans don't really know what this is about, because it can only be 1% who are completely oblivious to the reasons why football is trying to continue at this time. Because for me, nobody has given, and I have read hundreds, thousands of replies on messages from all different fans, etc., and not one person yet has convinced me that that actually makes sense. Not one single person, not one. So we're going to move on to the next question, which is talking about safety, player safety, family safety, staff safety, not just footballers, but the footballing community. So the players, the coaching staff, the managers, the physios, the people who would have to be at these games, the people that would have to drive coaches, the people that would have to be in the lockdown facility, the people, everything to do with it. I'll give you my sort of little thing, which I tweeted Gary Neville this morning because I watched a football show this morning, and there were a couple of points that came up on there. And Karl, what's he called, from Oxford City, the manager, Karl Robinson, he was on it and spoke really eloquently. I mean, and it wasn't to do with Karl Robinson, and it wasn't to do with footballers in general. I wasn't trying to have a go. I was trying to be pretty open with it. I never got a reply back for obvious reasons from Gary Neville, but Karl Robinson was talking about, lower leagues potentially could lose 700 players and blah, 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 blah. And that's going to lead me on to question 3. But what started getting me thinking when after I tweeted Gary Neville was the fact that hasn't his brother Phil Neville's got a daughter or a son whose health is jeopardised? I'm not sure what condition they've got, but I don't know whether they've got multiple sclerosis or something, you know, something that where it's, you know, medically dangerous at this moment in time. And I really wanted to tweet this, and I never did, but I wanted to tweet Gary Neville to say, have you spoke to Phil to even ask the question, if you were still playing now, how would you feel about going back or being forced or being coerced to go back playing football, knowing that you would be taken away from your child that needs medical care? And all right, your wife might be at home and things like that, but knowing you'd have to be removed from that child for 8 weeks, whatever. And if you came back, there is no guarantees that you wouldn't be infected. You might be clear one day, but the next day you might be showing signs and symptoms and pass that on to your child. I don't know. So my question is, can it really be safe for footballers, the footballing community, staff, whatever, and their families? Chris?
No, I think from this week, Sergio's pretty much stated that most players are scared. I'm sure he's saying that with 100% truthfulness. I can sort of see that myself. I went to work on Monday, bumped into a colleague who'd just come back to work the same day after having coronavirus. When I was putting my lad to bed that night, I can't tell you the thoughts that were going through my head. It was
well, no. Can you tell me? Because if you can you actually tell me how you felt, considering the fact that you know that, because I know we had a conversation about it, but you came in contact with somebody who had been off for a couple of weeks with coronavirus, and you didn't know that person had been off with that virus, and you came into contact with this person not knowing whether they still had it, they didn't have it, there was any long last, because let's face it, we don't know everything about this virus yet. Mm-hmm. And then you go home and you're putting your vulnerable child to bed. What sort of things were going through your mind?
Just, you know, I think the worrying thing about it is, Andy, like we said with the people at Cologne, people don't show symptoms, do they? You know,
no.
Or some people don't show symptoms.
Mm.
And I could be one of those people, if you know, but and then to pass that on to my child, and I've said this to people at work, if I'm nearly 50, if I was unfortunate enough to die, right, I've had a life, you know.
Yeah.
But if I was to get it and survive it, and then was to pass it on to my child, and then he was to get it, and worst outcome came, I'd never forgive myself, you know.
No.
So there's guilt, there's a lot of not very nice emotions really with all that, mate. It's a quite emotional time, you know.
Yeah, of course
I do feel quite thankful that I'm now out of that scenario, but I felt, you know, this was a real good friend of mine as well at work, somebody that me and him mess about all the time, have a great laugh with, and I know I treat him like a leper, you know, and it was, you know, I didn't like that either, you know. It's a really horrible situation. I don't know. I think like we're going back with the footballers. So people not showing symptoms, passing it on. What happens if, you know, we start the season again behind closed doors with 3 games into it, say, and, you know, 4 players test positive from a match that's happened, and those 16 of those players have been jostling around at a corner in a box, you know, 6, 7, whatever many times in a game, and that 4 then becomes 20. The people they come into contact with, you know, 30. Then they go home, pass it on again. You know, with this R number that they're calling about, you know, how many people pass it on to. So, you know, we all know what's going to happen. Like it's happened in Germany, we're going to spike again, and all the hard work that we've done up till this point is just been thrown away. Yeah, I think Sergio, and well, this is my point now. I don't know whether the PFA or what they're doing. They're very quiet. They probably are doing things behind closed doors, but this is a big. I think the LMA and the PFA need to be a little bit more outspoken and stick up for their charges. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a brilliant point. I mean, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know of any of the Premier League. I only know because I remember watching a really lovely programme with Phil Neville and his wife at home doing this sort of therapy exercise thing, and and stuff. And I'm sure there are lots of other players who have got children who are vulnerable and have got health issues that are vulnerable that we don't know about. We don't tend to get to know about these things. So it could be a parent. It could be somebody who lives with them in their own home and things. So it doesn't have to be a child. They might not necessarily. You only have to look at going back a few months. And Gabby had his mum there, didn't he? Living with him in Manchester in his apartment. You know, she could be there. At her age, she might be at a vulnerable stage. We don't know her health background and things like that. So he's got close family members. Can he go back to his family afterwards in the absolute knowledge, knowing that? And we know, because I know, because of my friends who I know work at the very forefront of this thing in A&E departments across the country, have said that, you know, testing is not 100% positive. You get lots of false negatives. You get lots of, you know, negative, positive, or unsure, you know, false negatives. And you have to wait to be tested again and things. So there is no guarantee just because you're tested, you are definitely clear. And what's to say the next day you tested again, you're not. And in that 24-hour period, who have you been in touch with and and this is a snowball thing. I mean, Karl?
Well, I want to talk about something happened last week in America here with one of my very good friends. His sister had a husband who was a health worker.
Yeah.
He had some health issues. He got the virus and he died.
Yeah.
And he was buried on Sunday. And there were 5 people at the grave, and they were all, you know, socially distant from each other.
Yeah.
So I hear, you know, the Premier League talking about resuming football with 22 players and probably 50 other staff around them to play 10 games. It's madness.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess until somebody dies, that's when they will officially say, yeah, this is a serious case. And think about this, Andy, right? So yesterday was earnings season within America for airport companies. American Airlines lost $2.2 billion in the last quarter.
Yeah.
They're burning through $70 million a day.
Yeah.
A day. What makes the Premier League so special compared to everything else?
Well, that question hold for question 3 after a break, because that we're going to talk about business and finances and things. That is a really good point that's coming up. But with regards to can you honestly believe it's safe for footballers?
At this point in time, it's not safe. This virus is highly contagious, right? And it's a deadly. You may carry the symptoms, you may not even know it.
Yeah.
So what's the guarantee?
Yeah.
It's not safe. Not yet. It's not safe. Not until we have either a vaccine or we have the medication that's going to, you know, stop it at some point.
Yeah. I mean, you made the point there. I mean, about talk about safety, Chris, is the concept of the R0 sort of concept, which was if a disease has an R0 of 18, a person who has the disease will transmit it to an average of 18 other people. That replication will continue if no one has been vaccinated against the disease or is already immune in their community. So before you know it, 18 becomes times 18, that figure times that figure times that figure. And, you know, if anybody, I'm sure people, while they've been in lockdown, have watched the film Contagion. That gives you the prime example of, you know, before you know it, you potentially have got 1 billion people infected with this thing. That's the way it works with the R0 process. Ryan, I mean, you're younger. I'm guessing you don't go out the house that much if you're always in bed 18 hours a day. But from a younger perspective, and please, and this is the thing for everybody watching, trust me, I've spoke to medical professionals about this on the front line who do research in this stuff and collate figures. It's nothing to do, age does play a part, but males are 60% more likely than 40% females of catching it. We've also got the BAME issues as well at the moment. And this is another thing that came up. You know, when we've had reports in the general media talking about bringing BAME workers out of the NHS because they're more susceptible to this particular virus. Well, how many footballers are from a BAME background in the Premier League? How many black players are there? Asian players, for Algerians, North Africans, the MENA region, whatever it may be.
A couple of hundred, maybe more.
Well, I tell you what. What about take Manchester City then?
I think the issue here in the US is the same, Andy. I think the issue here with the BAME here is the fact that the underlying infrastructure for healthcare is disadvantaged towards BAME folks right here, and so they're more susceptible to diabetes, heart disease, and all that kind of stuff. That's the issue. If a healthy person who has good healthcare is less susceptible to dying of coronavirus than anybody.
I'm only quoting what they say. I don't know. I don't have any background knowledge on anything. I'm just quoting what's been said, that we should be potentially removing some of those people from the front line so that they're not susceptible, because they could potentially be susceptible to it. But if that's the case, then why are we exposing others? If it's a genetic thing, why are we exposing so many BAME players, which there are? Let's face it, if you go through the Manchester City team, what people are from that background in the Man City team?
Yeah, quite a few. We know we know
loads of them.
Yeah,
loads. You go through the Arsenal team, you go through the United team, you go through absolutely loads. I mean, so why is it? I know they're working on the front line. I get that. But I'm going to go back to Ryan. Sorry, I interrupted you there, Ryan. Apologies.
Well,
it's one of these debates tonight, which is people will have a lot of an opinion on, because there are so many variables that are into the whole concept of what's happened today.
Right. So when did lockdown start? Probably around six weeks ago now.
17th, 18th March.
I think it was
6 weeks. I think it was.
Yeah, because I remember we were recording a Friday night social, and it was the last night that all the pubs were open.
Yes, that's correct.
And we'd been recording a Friday night social. I think I'd said that somewhere in town was doing 10p for a drink, just to try and get all the stuff out the pipes and stuff.
That was the worst decision they ever made.
Oh no, they got closed down. They refused to close, and the police shut them down. That night. I
still think announcing it the way they did was stupid.
Oh,
how many people spread the virus that night? What a stupid thing to do.
Specifically on that night, the place that was doing that in Carlisle got shut down by police. They were refusing to close at midnight, so that went well. But the thing is, since then I've probably left the house on maybe 3 or 4 occasions. I went to Asda a couple times. I went to the pharmacy to get my mum her medication from cancer treatment last year. And someone across the street, I got hers as well, because she's not actually allowed to leave the house either. So I've not really done much leaving the house, and I haven't really watched a lot of the news or anything and been keeping up to date with it, because I don't watch a lot of TV. I get what I can hear from when I'm downstairs eating food, and then all the news that comes through on Twitter, from whatever Boris is saying and everything.
So actually, what you're trying to tell us is you've left the home twice as much in the last 6 weeks as you normally would do before lockdown.
I'm trying not to laugh at a serious conversation, then. Sorry.
Wow.
Ryan doesn't do serious. It's a bit of a serious one tonight, and Ryan doesn't do serious.
Nah, I'm not a serious person. I leave the house at least twice a week, Monday and Sunday.
No, it's the way you went. I went downstairs for food and heard a bit of news. I was doing
No, right. But the thing is, I don't think anyone truly understands the virus yet.
I think that's a really, really good point.
I don't think up until people actually understand the virus, I don't see how you can put on any sporting events. And I know Andy's not going to be a fan of this, but I'm going to talk about wrestling.
That's fine.
Right?
That's fine.
Because WWE are still putting on shows. They do SmackDown, NXT, and Monday Night Raw. So that's a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday. And they have select rosters for each show. So what they're doing at the moment, still putting on shows, is all of the all of the competitors have a day that they're scheduled to come in, and in between all the matches, I think everything's cleaned and everyone's checked for stuff. And I think since they've started doing that, there's been 2 people that have tested positive. I don't think either were wrestlers. But
yeah, but that's a really bad example, that, Ryan.
I know.
Did they stop on the WWE then? Sorry, mate.
I'll just
I'm only joking.
Do you know why?
The point I'm trying to make.
He sacked half his stuff and he's making a profit. He's not losing business.
Oh, well, listen,
Martin, I'm not getting on about that.
We're not having WWE chat. Look at Martin's getting all irate because we're talking about WWE.
The point I'm making.
Slagging off my WWE fella.
The point I'm making is like that's a small amount of people in the building at a time, and it's getting cleaned in between every single match that's being filmed. Yeah. And I think in the time they've been doing that, there's been 1 or 2 people that have tested positive for coronavirus, and then they've gone into isolation.
Of those that have been tested. Of those that
they've all been tested.
Are you talking just about wrestlers here?
No, everyone that's been like backstage, all the producers and stuff are all being tested. Yeah. I believe at least, and then, but that's a lot smaller scale than putting on a football match. Yeah, and in a lot. An environment that I suppose is easy to control.
How many people would you estimate are at the event to put the event on? The wrestlers, the whatever, and the media. How many would you say? Because at the moment we know football are saying somewhere guessing between 200 to 400, somewhere in that. They don't know. Somewhere in that region. How many do you think people would be doing it?
In the building at the time of like each match being filmed, I think there's never more than around 50 people in.
Yeah. Well, so you're gonna have obviously there. You know, I mean, 2 teams are gonna be 30. And then you're going to have staff, and so I mean, just in the team element.
Yeah, the point I was trying to make mainly was more that's on a lot smaller and a more controllable scale, like what WWE are doing. And I don't think what WWE are doing, putting on shows, is right.
Okay.
And then they're talking about putting football back on.
Well, I mean, it's just been news today. I think it broke. Eddie Hearn saying that Anthony Joshua is prepared to fight behind closed doors.
Yeah, they were saying that Joshua Klitschko or whatever. I don't know. I don't follow it.
I mean, it'd be like a sparring match in a gym, wouldn't it? I mean, it's like, really, what is the point? I know it's. I
don't see how people can think that you can feasibly put it back on. I think Karl mentioned today. I haven't checked this, but I think Karl mentioned on Martin's stream today that Iwobi has said that he wouldn't play if it was put back on.
Who was that? Sorry.
Alex Iwobi. I think Karl had said that Iwobi said that he wouldn't play if it was to carry on.
Yeah, but that's why the FA said they can extend the squads up to that 29-30 because they're ready for that to happen. That's why they're saying. That's why Martin Samuel said you could end up with a tea lady up front. And they are.
But that's never going to happen, is it? It isn't.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't be.
Well. I'll tell you what, then. I'll tell you what, Martin. What? Let's say, after everything that's happened to Pep, somebody brought up Pep before. Karl brought up Pep and his mother and everything else. What if the Man City squad? We've had Sergio coming out today, and please, Liverpool fans, don't be saying this is anything to do with, Liverpool win. I don't care if you cancel the season of City, you cancel the Community Shield, the League Cup, and cancel the Champions League, potential quarterfinal and the FA Cup. I don't care. This is one thing that a lot of fans seem to forget. Liverpool are going for the Premier League. Right. Liverpool are going for the Premier League. We're potentially going for a potential quadruple. What? Community Shield, League Cup, FA Cup, and Champions League. Yeah. So we could have another quadruple and we are favourites for the FA Cup and favourites for the Champions League. And it's like it's all about us wanting Liverpool. Look, I don't give a shit. Give Liverpool the title if that's what they want. I don't care. I am not interested. Yeah. Don't even put an asterisk next to it. Just give it them. I am not bothered.
Put an asterisk beside it because they'll think that means more than just a normal Premier League title.
You know what upset me? And this is going to be a bit of a dig at Liverpool. I don't care about the comments underneath. They can say whatever they want. The way their club reacted to their mayor yesterday.
I did tweet out after that yesterday.
Sorry, that was so... If City had done that, I'd be quite embarrassed.
If City fans had done that to Andy Burnham, I'd be pretty embarrassed as well.
I tweeted out after that video because I went on Twitter and I saw that people were talking about the mayor, and I was like, oh, I know he supports Everton, so I know he's probably said something, and I saw a club statement. So I read through that, then went and checked his video.
Didn't Liverpool in their statement use the likes of only, a mayor should only be consulting with stakeholders within Liverpool? Well, I didn't know Liverpool Football Club are a stakeholder in Liverpool. I thought it's things like government services, and I didn't realise Liverpool FC, unless they are, unless Liverpool FC are now part of the stakeholders of the council and everything else, and are in on every decision that's made.
What I did with the video of what the mayor had said, I'd said that it was going to get taken out of context what he was saying. Yeah. Whereas, yes, in the video he is essentially targeting Liverpool fans. But I think I said this on Martin's vlog today, and I said this when I quoted this video on Twitter, that all you have to do is look at the Borussia Dortmund PSG game in the second leg. There was, I think, thousands of PSG fans gathered outside the Parc des Princes.
Yeah.
And that was completely locked down at that point, and they weren't allowed in the stadium. And not just Liverpool fans. This isn't just a dig at Liverpool fans. City fans would do you will have City fans that will go to games.
Yeah, of course
you'll have fans of every single club will go to games, and if Liverpool fans will do it more if they're going to win a title at this ground. They're going to congregate to that. That stadium.
Every club has outside. Its idiots. Yeah. Every club.
Here's a point, and this is a genuine question. If you're a Liverpool fan, because to me, given the title, like I said, do they really, as a fan base and as a club, they need to ask themselves a question: do they want to win a Premier League trophy in an empty stadium with no fans? They can't have a parade.
I think a significant proportion of them will say, I don't care, because in 20 years' time, nobody's going to really bother it. And you would never be able to say that they haven't got the Premier League title. You won't be able to say that.
I think Juventus fans had said that they wouldn't accept the title if it was just declared like France has done it. I think Juventus had said that they wouldn't accept the title.
No,
anyway, but this is not about Liverpool. But it's a very very good point you raised there.
Well, it's a key, Liverpool's a key point in this because of where they are in the league, and it would be the same if any other club was at the top of the league. And I suppose other if United were top of the league, their fans would be more inclined to.
I'll tell you what. I'll come back to you then with this question, Ryan. And all I want is a simple yes or no. So no explanation. I'll go around all of you. If Liverpool won the Premier League 2 seasons ago, do you think the Premier League season would be being pushed to be completed as it stands right now? If Liverpool had already won a Premier League 2 seasons ago, and then we're talking about the media pushing for this, because let's face it, the media drive a lot of stuff that's going on. Ryan, yes or no? Do you think all Liverpool fans and everybody would be pushing for this?
Fans, no. Media, yes.
Okay.
Still.
Okay. Martin?
No, they won't be pushing for it at all.
Okay. Karl?
Hell no. They won't push for this. This is all about them.
Martin? Chris?
I don't think the fans are, and maybe not the media either, but I do still think the Premier League will push for it.
Yeah.
So you've hit the nail on the head there, which is down to what's this all about?
Money. It's all to do with money, mate.
Which leads me on to, we're going to have a break. What we're going to do is going to come back very shortly, and we're going to move on to question 3, and that is all about money. And we're going to discuss all about money, finances with the Premier League, and why we are still discussing football continuing in the 20 to try and finish the 2019-20 season. We'll see you shortly.